Hi, La Mesa Spring Valley. It's your 5th and 6th grade teacher, Miss Lubel. I'm currently a 5th and 6th grade teacher at La Mesa Dale. Shout out to room 20. So today I'm going to give students and parents some tips and tricks to help this whole homeschooling situation go a little bit more smoothly. So today we're going to go over 3 things. Students, this is for you too. 1, we're going to go over routines. 2, we're going to go over rules, and 3, we're going to go over consequences. This is all management, and as every teacher knows, classroom management either makes or breaks your classroom. And I'm sure at home, parents, you are very aware of this as well. So the first thing I would like to go over is routines. Students, what is a routine? A routine is an established schedule. So in my room, for example, the first thing students do when they come in is they write in their planner, and then they have 15 minutes of silent reading. Then we go into language arts, and then we end with writer's workshop. Now, this happens every day at the same time, right? By establishing routines, students feel safe in their schedule and they know what to expect, which makes things a lot easier. Now, during this time, the routine is completely messed up. Now, students, it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel a little bit anxious. It's okay to feel like you don't know what's going to happen next. Adults, we feel that as well, right? We may be a little scared at times because this is something new. This is our first time at this. I have never experienced something like this in my life before, and most of us were not prepared for it. So, to help this run smoothly, I'm hoping these examples of routines will help not only parents feel like you got this under control, and students feel like it's kind of similar to school and that this is going to be okay and you know what to expect. So, in terms of routines, here are some suggestions. If you see me looking down at my lap, it's because I wanted to take notes so that I don't forget to tell you guys anything. Okay, so in terms of routines, a great thing to establish, and this has to do with 4th grade and above, is cutting up your work time into increments. So, for example, my classroom, we do what's called 50-10s. We work for 50 minutes, and then we take a 10-minute break. Now, this is great because human brains, Miss Lubel's reading a book, and they optimize or they work their best during 50-minute increments of time, okay? It's science. So, have your student or child, if they're 4th grade and below, I would suggest maybe 20 to 35 minutes. Or if you're doing something with them, this is going to be a little different. But if this is independent time, like they're reading, or they're able to do this work on their own, I would suggest setting a timer for that established set of time. And then when they're done, they get a 10-minute break. What can they do during their 10-minute break? They can draw a picture. They can socialize, which means call a friend, go outside. They can start, maybe if you're working on a puzzle, they can work on that during the break. If you have an ongoing board game, they can do that during that time too. And then when the 10-minute break goes off, return back to the work for 50 minutes. Now, I know as a teacher that my students work best in the morning, but your family schedule is your family schedule, and you know exactly what works best for your family. So, if you're doing this in the morning, I would do perhaps 3 50-10s. They can even eat a snack during their 10-minute break. I allow students to have snacks in my classroom as long as they grow. So, if it's something healthy, they can have that as a snack as well. Okay, so that is routines, establishing those 50-10s, maybe starting the day the same way every single day, right? That takes the pressure off parents and students because you already know what to expect. Maybe in the mornings after breakfast, that's when you start with math, and then you go into language arts. Or maybe in the morning, you're starting off with 30 minutes of silent reading, and then you move into language arts, and then you have your break, and then you go into math, right? Whatever you think works best for your student. This is actually an amazing time because you and your student can go over what they actually like doing first, second, or third, and you guys can work on choosing your schedule together. So next, I would like to go over rules. Now, house rules can be very different from classroom rules. In my classroom, we have 2 rules. We have be nice and work hard. These encompass about every behavior a student could do, right? Not choosing to do their work. Hey, are you working hard? Being disrespectful, being unkind to other students. Hey, are you being kind? No. So those are 2 examples of rules. These are the only 2 I have in my classroom, and I've had them when I taught younger grades as well, and they've worked. So at the beginning of the school year, I do have students draft out rules that they think would be best for working in the classroom. I highly suggest you and your students sit down and do this together. This can be a great opportunity for you two to work or more, if there's more than one child, more than one parent, family member in there, to work together to establish what rules do you think are going to allow this process to run smoothly. So take this time to have fun with that. Along with rules, I would also encourage you to work with your student on making a list of consequences, or what will happen if your child chooses to not follow the rules. Okay? Consequences that I have in my classroom. For example, I have a tier of 3. The first time a student chooses to break a rule, I give them a verbal warning. Second time a student chooses to break a rule, I give them a choice of consequence. Now, very important, make sure the consequence matches the action. And I'll give you some examples. So, for example, your child is very frustrated with a math problem. Raise your hand, parents, if you've already felt this, right? Especially if you're in the upper grades. I know those math problems can be extremely challenging. So let's say your child is having some difficulty with a math problem and they throw their pencil or they slam their fists on their table, right? Not appropriate behavior. So the consequence needs to match the action. So because they're choosing to be disruptive, right? If they throw their paper or they crumple it up, they say something disrespectful, they act out in a way that's just not appropriate, and they've already gotten a verbal warning, this is when the second consequence would come in. So this is a choice, right? So because they're disrupting their learning time, there needs to be a consequence that possibly disrupts their fun time because they need to match one another, right? They throw their paper, they make a mess. Helping you clean up the kitchen at the end of the day, helping you clean the house. Those match, right? They make a mess, they need to help clean up. They're being disrespectful and they're choosing not to do their work. Something that would interrupt their time is possibly no TV, no tablet time. They were supposed to FaceTime a friend that night. They're going to have to call up their friend and say, we're going to need to do this another day, okay? Having the consequence match the action really helps the student take accountability. So in the student's eyes, students, I hope you're still listening. If you're choosing to throw your pencil or you're choosing to be disrespectful or you're choosing to act out in a way that's not appropriate, there's going to be a consequence that matches this action, okay? So, and then lastly, if they choose to do it again, you can have a more severe consequence. But after the second warning, if they're still choosing to do this behavior, that's when I would suggest taking a break. Now, grades 4 and up, by this point, they should know to ask for a break when they're feeling upset, frustrated, anxious, angry, all the feels. When those start to come on, if your student asks for a break, they should have a break. I would suggest, though, that during this break, they should not be using tablets or electronics, because then they will start to think that, ooh, if I act this way, I get to have this reward. And they're taking a break to calm themselves down, to recognize their feelings, to feel in it, rather than have a reward. So, the 3 rules, I'm going to go over them again because sometimes I can go on a tangent. They get a verbal warning. They choose a consequence. And remember, the consequence needs to match the action. If they choose to partake in that behavior a third time, this is when I would take a break. So, when students take a break, I would set the timer for 5 to 10 minutes. That's an appropriate amount of time. During this time, some suggestions. Take a walk outside. Take 5 deep breaths in another room of the house, because being with the parent or the student when you're still frustrated, it could be a further trigger. So maybe having a break area in the house, that would be an awesome opportunity for students to take accountability for their own emotions. When that timer goes off, this is the time to really talk to your student about how they were feeling. And I noticed this works really well in my classroom. So some examples. First, we work on taking accountability. What happened? How were you feeling? Why did you choose to act that way? And then I repeat back to them what I heard. This helps the student feel understood. It also helps them process the behavior that they were doing, and they may start to realize, ooh, wow, that was not okay. I should not have done that. Then I have them apologize. Eye contact, key with apologizing. It is uncomfortable, but it's also part of taking accountability for your actions, right? If you can choose to do this behavior, you can also choose to apologize in this manner. And lastly, we go over what's a better solution to this. You're feeling frustrated. Instead of crumbling up your paper and throwing it, what's something we can do next time? We can take a break. We can take some deep breaths. We can express, hey, I'm really feeling frustrated. Can you help me with this? Hey, I'm really feeling frustrated or angry because I don't understand this. Can we move on to something else and come back to it? Absolutely. Okay? So, what we've gone over today are routines, we've gone over rules, and we have gone over consequences. Now, if you have any more questions or concerns, please reach out to me. Right? Teachers, we miss our students so much, and this is our job to be helping parents right now because you're taking on this large responsibility. So reach out to your own teacher, reach out to myself. My email is on the school website. I'm Miss Lubel, not Mrs. Lubel. That's my mom. She's a principal, Miss Lubel. I work at La Mesa Dale. And so yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I really hope these tips and tricks will help this transition from schooling to homeschooling go more smoothly. All right, bye.